read. This is a meeting for the school board in public for the purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. The public may attend or pop in on the screen, but the board will not address visitors' questions at the work session. Okay. Mr. Ron, first item on the agenda, I believe, is the calendar.
Before I address that, I just wanted to take a minute and say some thank yous. We've had, I told the board, what did you get me into, over the last month or two, but on the other hand, we really had people step up, students and parents, teachers and their aides, administration, their support staff. Scott Gear has really done a ton of stuff with technology. Gayla has tracked a ton of data as far as wages and costs and things. And Sam, I really appreciate doing a lot of the setup and tech for this. So, and then finally, Sandy Rowe and the food, as food director and her team and the custodians and drivers and Ross especially for getting the meals out to people in a timely way. So just I wanted to mention that before we begin. We have a meeting, a webinar with Dr. McCormick every Tuesday, and we thought it's been very useful until the end of yesterday's meeting when I'm not going to get into the details, but I wish the state would get their message clear in terms of seniors and graduation and credits and those kind of things. So we're still hoping for a clarification from them on what they're talking about. Mrs. Circle has reached out to the seniors and as she's met with the officers, she's asked them to contact their fellow classmates and just get some of their ideas and suggestions because it is their commencement and we'd like to honor some of their ideas if we can. But that's obviously up in the air, and we'll have some suggestions for you on April the 20th. I'm going to kind of pause if the board members have any questions on any of these items as we go through. If not, I'll move ahead. I sent you a proposed calendar, and starting next week, what we would do and the change we would make would be make every Monday's been a waiver day. We'll make Wednesday a waiver day also, so that we're doing e-learning 3 days a week instead of 4. I think it'll slow down the pace for teachers and students and parents and give everyone a chance to perhaps catch your breath, catch up, and get as much work done as possible. So as that, assuming we adopt that calendar, then our last day would actually be May 15th. As a date to collect things, May 14th would be the last day of instruction, and that would give us enough days to meet the state requirement. So I plan to submit that to parents and staff after this meeting is over. Any feedback on that?
Are the teachers allowed in the building any of these days, or are they reporting any of these days?
Typically, the teachers, correct me if I'm wrong, administrators have been coming in on Fridays. And occasionally on other days, but we have certainly been trying to limit the traffic. But they come in, they plan, if they have to run off paper packets, they do it at that time, and then they're delivered the following week.
That is correct.
Okay. Summer school, if there was ever a year we needed summer school, we needed it to be thorough and extensive, it would be this year, but we're just not getting a good vibe from the state that that's going to be possible. So we are fearful that right now they're looking at virtual summer school, and frankly, the students that need summer school the most are not students who necessarily are going to benefit from more distance learning. So we'll just have to see how things develop as we get closer to those dates. But they have postponed the deadlines for sending in schedules and courses and so on. We can send in anything, but we're not quite sure what we're going to be able to offer. The only testing we're anticipating right now is AP testing, which will be done at home, and it's that last week. And part of the reason we wanted to have school the week of the 11th through the 15th is that the AP testing is that week, and we thought it better if students were still officially in school. Now, those students in dual credit courses may yet have to take a test that Ivy Tech or whomever offers. So that could be the other possibility. But the state is not doing any testing. We're not obligated to do that. And then a couple of the things I wanted you to be aware of is that we're continuing the meal program. We're planning on continuing it through May. I'm also anticipating that we will perhaps have some during the summertime because as this whole program has been like the summer school lunch program. And again, those people have done a great job along with some volunteers who are stepping in. We're trying to take precautions that they have, everyone's wearing a mask, and we're trying to limit the traffic in the areas where they are working. I won't share a name, but I just got an email early this afternoon that the worst nightmare that could happen is that a school in our area had one of their people test positive who was helping with the meals. So, which completely, ends that effort, and at that point you're done. So that's what we've been trying to guard against. We've been trying to tell people to take precautions, and that should reinforce that danger. And I was just going to share with the board that I'm trying to stagger the people working in the central office, and instead of having all people here at the same time, that we'll try to have two people here at all times. Everybody else can work, or everyone in here can work from home, so it shouldn't be a problem. But the less exposure time we have, hopefully, the better.
Okay. Gil, can you hear us? Okay. Thank you.
We're going to have a meeting on the 20th, April 20th, and one of the things I'll be presenting at that meeting is book rent for approval for next year. And one thing I wanted the board to be aware of is that for years, here we have collected a $45 technology fee. I am not able to determine that money has ever been used for technology. So as we go forward, it will be used for technology. And I am even going to recommend that fee be applied toward any new devices we buy. And then after 4 years of paying that fee, a student would be able to have and use the device for their own personal use. And I think for the schools that have done that, assuming the item is well taken care of, then that's a real bonus for parents. They're not that money is going toward a very good end. But that would be a 4-year rotation. And we have discussed a pre-K fee, and again, I'll ask you to approve it, but I'm going to suggest that based on the circumstances we face right now, we still have one, but that we limit it to $100 a week. And I think that will help us get through that program next year and still save a considerable amount of money. But I've asked the administrators to reduce book rent costs as much as possible to try to eliminate any items that we don't really have to have that are totally necessary so we can assist families as much as possible.
Any questions on any of that? Comment?
Yeah. Dan, on that technology thing, is that going to require a new policy for us to adopt and change the way we've been doing it?
I think it will, Steve, as it regards to technology and book grant both. So we'll work on that language. about BYO. I know some schools, a lot of schools have separate BYO policies. So we'll see what we can find out about that. Some of these policies may not be ready for the 20th, but we can at least adopt the philosophy and then begin on work on the policy. But it's a good question.
Yeah, thanks. Just as a confirmation, when we originally started the purchase of the computers, the intent was the students would get their computers at the end of those 4 years. It never really went that way, and I don't remember exactly why, if it was the shuffling of computers and what all happened in there, but that was the intent. I think the reality is, and Scott may agree or disagree, but I think at the end of the 4 years, it's not worth much. So, however you look at it, but that was kind of what we were trying to do initially to start with.
I have a question. If they bring their own devices, how are we going to be able to control what they have access to?
Yeah, we can somehow. And a lot of students bring their devices now. A lot of high school students have much better computers than they have available to them.
Again, I think that's Paul said we have to do to sign off that we have the right to go in and look at it any time. I mean, there are some things like that, like with my own, if I take mine to the company, I have to sign off. They have the right to look at it behind the scenes, so to speak. I mean, like I said, Scott will have to maybe help us out on that. If there's jamming issues, things like that.
I don't know either on Hacker with reaching out to other corporations. We can begin to explore, like I said, those bring your own policies, and I'm sure a lot of schools have a lot of experience and have addressed the issues within those policies. So we'll begin to take a look at that. Scott, can you kind of begin to search somewhat for that?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Scott, isn't it true that when the students bring the devices home, it doesn't matter, they can still access all sorts of websites?
Right now, we have licensing for kids when they take the devices home. We still filter them at home, 9 through 12. Anybody who brings their own device into our school and joins the BYOT network, they are filtered while using our network. The only time they're not filtered is when they use their own phone as a hotspot, connect to that, and they're getting out through their phone. That's the only time I cannot to see what they're doing. But even if their own device, I can still see what they're visiting.
Thanks.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move on, Mr. Ross.
On COVID-19 related issues, one of the things that I really want to do is we really ask our cafeteria people, custodians, and transportation people not only to step up and work pretty hard, but they've also been exposed a lot, and I think there ought to be some kind of a reward for that. And I would like to pay the cafeteria custodians an extra $3 an hour for the hours they have actually worked here, and also then pay bus drivers $10 a day extra for their routes. The reason for the $10 for the bus drivers is some of them aren't paid by the mile, they're paid by the route, and so that would be an equitable way to do it. Now, I anticipate that extra expense will be reimbursed. That part of what will get covered through FEMA and through federal grants will reimburse us for our costs, extra costs related to the COVID. That I think those workers deserve that. And I had a teleconference or a Zoom conference with the superintendents that Nick's law firm served, and a lot of them were in fact paying time and a half and going way above this. But I think this as a minimum is a deserving kind of thing that needs to be done.
Comment?
I agree.
We started to do a FEMA application, but FEMA said, please stop. They were so overwhelmed that they haven't put the process back out there yet, and they're going to to streamline it, make it a lot simpler. So we're waiting for that to happen. So we'll keep you informed on that. On special ed, the tracking of trying to deliver services virtually, those special services and regular services is really difficult. I've asked Allison to help track any extra expenses related to that. This is a very difficult subject and time for parents, teachers, and leaders in the area of special ed. And the federal, there's a movement at the federal level to try to relax some of the standards that have been established for special ed, and parents are very reluctant to make any concessions in that area, so I'm not quite sure how it's going to turn out, but it's very hot. And we'll keep you informed.
Got a train go by.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
It's a good old Norfolk and Southern.
there you go. The last thing under that is that a grant came to us. It's called Gin Youth Grants, and it's a $3,000 grant. Very simple, and we're going to apply for it for the 3 kitchens that are operating, serving meals, and hopefully it'll again give us an opportunity to recoup some of our expenses. Any other questions on those issues?
What's the plan for summer lunches, and how's this gonna affect all that? If we don't have summer school,
We can still serve
lunches,
We can
like
still
how
serve
we're
the
doing now,
lunches.
maybe, or
The reimbursement that we got for the first round was pretty phenomenal. So it's not something that's going to cost us money. I mean, as long as assuming that it stays the same. But they are reimbursing almost $4.50 for a lunch, and like $4.25 for a breakfast. So it's right now that's easy for us to keep within those guidelines. And the other thing on lunches, and I'm glad you brought it up, we are trying to get to prepackaged meals. Some of the services are offering that, and the less time we spend packing meals and sorting meals and sorting food and handling it, the better off everybody is going to be. So if that becomes available, we're going to continue to move towards that.
anything else on that section?
Excuse me, I'd like to go ahead and move on some of these bond projects, and this is from the 2019 bonds that we had. And the biggest item by far that we have in there is replacing that chiller compressor. And we had a bid for it last week, and this week it went up, and we are battling with the company trying to get that original price. But it's something that needs to be in place for the future. And if you'll go on over to the next item, the chiller controls, there are 2 major controls that control both chillers, and they have never quite been right. And so Greg is trying to get that sorted out, and we think we have the answers, but it's going to take some money to rewire and replace those chiller controls also. So combined, that could be anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000 that I think we need to get it done, because we are going to eventually need it. We've been running on one chiller quite a while, and if that goes out, it could be a disaster for us. It's been an interesting journey on these science standalone units. There are 2 of them, and we have discovered in the process that they were never installed properly 10 years ago. The power to them was higher than what they should have been, which constantly caused them to malfunction. It fried boards within it, and second unit has ever worked. And if it has, for very short times. What's interesting is the chiller had a surge protector unit built into it. These did not, for whatever reason, but the chiller also is mismatched in terms of the power that was wired to it. So, again, Greg has done a great job trying to get this sorted out, but we can get that LG standalone unit fixed for around $3,200, and then that would include that power suppressor. We should not ever have this problem going forward. And then both units will work, and they have never, as far as we can tell, worked together in the 10 years that they've been there. The science area has kind of limped along on that one unit, and even it has not worked properly much of the time. So I'll stop there in case you have questions on that.
Brian, any chance you know who the contractor was on that 10 years ago?
I do not, and we can find out. But I think what you're going to get into is an issue over an argument on who's at fault. You know, was it the wiring that existed? Was it the general contractor? So, but Greg is following up on that.
To probably Gil and Chris, who was the project manager on that? You never remember? Because that then when they added the sign on, right? Yeah, I'd have to look back. Nothing comes to mind. Okay. I guess this might be a question more for Nick, because I know there's things we can't act on, but I thought we had already had approved him to do like the camera upgrades, the asphalt part. That's just redoing what was supposed to have been done right before. Is that right, Dan? The asphalt part of it?
Well, I had brought these things to you, but I'm not sure that we had a set amount of money that we were going to spend. I just want you to be, and I know you're not going to vote today. I just wanted you to be aware of the specific costs related to doing these things.
Okay, because I thought we had given the okay to do those, and that's why with the bond money that we had, and so that's fine. I just wanted to, if there was something there that we could get going on, the kids are out of school, now would be a good time to start if some of it could be done, but I understand the need to do it properly too, so I just thought we'd already done some of it.
Okay, the tuck pointing, we've been because of the COVID situation, COVID-19 situation, it's been harder to get people out here. We do have one bid, and I didn't say specifically what it was because I don't want to make it public, but it's above $30,000, and we have two companies said they are going to provide other bids. So we are waiting to hear from them, but that's a really urgent thing that needs to get done, and I'd like to do it as soon as we can get the lowest bid for that. The middle school has never had the security that the other areas have, and so we got some specific prices to make that happen. The inner doors for the entrance are not locking, and so electronically, so this 12,000 would make them have electronic controls. There would be an intercom system for the area between the doors, and we would put in a window there that would go into the art area, and I'm fairly comfortable that we can get some volunteers to help with that when people come into the building, then there'll be someone to buzz them in and have them sign in and have a much better record and track of what's going on with that. The roller door for the office is inoperable, and so we have a bid to replace that door. There may be some bit of it that the custodians could possibly do, but this process is a specialized process, and they use special detergents. They use a wax when they're done to preserve the cleaning part of it. And I think in the long run, I don't think this has been kept up, and I just think it really would help the buildings, the appearance, the longevity of it, and would be pretty important to do.
One thing, Dan, I don't see on here, if you can give us an update, is the bridge back behind the high school there. Or are we any further on knowing if that is really, really safe and sound, or if there's something we may need to be getting to yet?
We don't have any update on it. We had some engineers that were supposed to come and look at it. We've called them multiple times. They haven't been here yet. We called concrete people instead to see if they can come and look at it. And we'll keep working on that and hopefully have something resolved before summer starts again, or before school starts again. Crenshaw gave us 2 bids for doing the concrete work. It would be I sent you a couple diagrams. One is adding around 4,000 square feet of paving with the around the softball area, and that would be putting in base and I believe 3.5 inches of asphalt, and that would cost $15K. Something has come up that's in bad shape. It is the main entrance right around the high school. That pavement is gone and up against the curb. And so they gave us a bid to come in and remove the old, restore the base, put a 3.5 inch base of asphalt and 1.5 inches of finish in that area, and get that patched up, because it's only going to get worse. And we do not currently have a cost on the upgrade of the camera system, so we'll bring you that at another time. So do you have any questions about any of these projects? Okay. Finally, on finances, the CARES Act, the aid bill passed by Congress, is going to give us an additional $155,000 in Title I money. Since we are a K through 12 title school, it gives us quite a bit of flexibility. Again, we're not going to be in too big a hurry. I'm not sure, Allison, is it a year or 2 years to spend that?
We have until 2022 to spend that money.
Okay, so we have 2 years to spend that, so again, we will probably go slow on it because of the uncertainty of the budget situation, but that will certainly help us out. So this is how the federal government awarded that money to schools. They set aside a specific pot for schools, and it was all done through the title program. So the schools that have the greatest need in terms of students in the title programs are going to get the greatest amount of money. And so you get 75% of the money that was part of your original grant. I told the administrators, I'm not sure about the federal government's math. I don't think the 75% is quite accurate, but it's more than it should be, so we're not going to argue with it. So we'll leave it at that. Now, the good news is the state is recalculating the tuition support. We had 21 more students in February than we had in September, which should increase our funding. However, we know that that's up in the air in terms of what the state may do come fall as far as tuition support is related. But the good news is for right now, we should get some extra funding based on that higher enrollment. The biggest concern we have is our property tax. The auditor's office is telling us that could be as low as 15 to 30% of what we normally would get. People have a 2-month reprieve with no penalty. funds and in our operations budget. So that's something that we're going to have to be very, very diligent about following. And I'm going to begin to work with the Indiana Bond Bank to develop the avenues necessary for us to get temporary financing. And I think they may be a very busy organization because I think this is going to impact every school in Indiana and probably every county and part of the county in terms of the same situation. As far as bond refunding, I'm going to bring you on the 20th some resolutions that would allow us to act on that refinancing. Right now, the bond market is very unstable, and there would be 0% savings. But the Baker Tilly and Eric Long of Ice Miller expect that to change very soon, and that in any week that could be very different depending on what the federal government does, what happens with the economy. So if that happens and we can save 3%, which is what our target is, then by having passed those resolutions, it would allow us to quickly act. Because we're saving money, we don't have to go through an entire bond process. We just have to have a meeting, and also the corporation would need to have a meeting and approve that change, approve that refinance. And we're talking about the 2010 A and B bonds is what we're looking at. So we certainly hope that happens, and again, it will improve our overall financial situation. Two things that I want to keep you updated on Weirs. We had two buses that required some major repairs. One was all the fuel injectors, they quit running. We had to tow it in. We had to replace all the fuel injectors. That was bus 9, and bus 11 stopped running, and the fuel pump had to be replaced on it. So the total for that is $6,800, but that would be in addition to the monthly payments that we typically make. As you know, we're paying that $33,000 a month until June, and then our regular maintenance fees, which have remained under $20,000 to this point. And then an item that I don't have on here, but at the April 20th meeting, I'm going to ask you to make a final decision on ECAs for coaches. That's typically those are not paid until May anyway. So we have discussed it, but we haven't made any final decision. The total cost for that is $38,800, and I think your options would be not to pay it. You could reduce it. Some schools have chosen to pay only head coaches, and so there are a lot of options there, and I will present you with some different options that you can then decide on April 20th how you would like to proceed with that. Now, this is a little complicated by the fact that a couple coaches are on a 26-pay schedule, and I'll just simply tell you that should not be the case, and we need to work with that going forward, because the contract says that a person, in order to get their ECA pay over 26 pays, is supposed to be a 12-month employee. And so the only two people that would apply to would be the ag teachers, and neither of them choose to do it that way. So we will also address that. So any question on the financial part of the information I presented?
I have one, Dan.
Yes.
On the Weirs, on the monthly costs, we're obviously not using our buses as much. Is that being adjusted for the monthly maintenance cost?
It should have been. I got caught off guard because when the bill came in, everything was together, and I March was not as much of a difference as I thought it might be, but I also wondered if they did some extra maintenance during that time, that perhaps they had been putting off. But I'll get you an explanation for that.
Yeah, I would think March would be pretty normal because we used them most of the month, but I would say going forward, April and May should be considerably cheaper.
It should be considerably cheaper since we're only using them 2 days a week. Yes. Okay.
And on the bond refinance and refunding, we talked at a point about the solar project money being pulled out of the operations fund. And is that part of this here, or is that something else that we might need to do?
No, that's a separate item. It's a separate item.
Okay.
And I can at least bring that cost to you, that you would see what that would, what the expense related to that would be. The process is also kind of similar to the refinancing. It's a much simpler process. You don't have to have a formal bond hearing to do that. It's just I believe it's based on a one meeting. And Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a simplified process if you choose to do it. But again, the timing on it may not be great based on what may happen to our operations budget. So there are a lot of moving parts in that.
Have we received that gift money yet?
No. Okay. I have been in conversation with that person, and I suggested probably that with the circumstances, it would probably be best to hold off on that until we have a much better idea of where we stand with our budget.
Other questions?
I got a question.
Yep.
Has anybody lost a picture with the meeting?
Yeah, but we can still see you.
Well, I've been offline for about 10 minutes trying to get back onto the meeting. I don't know what happened.
Chris, mine went off, Chris, a couple times for about 30 seconds.
Yeah, mine was off. I was off for about 10 minutes, so I missed out on quite a bit. The last they were talking about was I think the middle school or something. I'm not sure. I got so flustered. I was trying to get back into the meeting. I was trying everything. I don't know how I stumbled back into it, but I did.
You did it.
I don't think we ever lost your picture.
Really?
Yeah, you've been on the screen the whole time.
Okay, well, I'm glad I'm not using any choice words.
Chris, just call me tomorrow or come by and I can go over anything that you have questions about.
Okay, where are we at right now?
Well, actually, we're at the end.
Oh. Okay, well.
Yeah. We do need to decide on a time for the April 20th board meeting. I'm open for suggestions if you want. We obviously can do it during the day if possible. So I don't know what everybody's calendar looks like, but it would be nice to set that up now, the time, if we could. Anybody have any?
Flexible.
I'm good anytime.
Me too.
Yeah, I would prefer at least 3:30, 4 o'clock or later. I would like 5 o'clock.
Okay. Steve, we don't have to stay at the school as long as we have it posted, 4 or 5 o'clock.
Gail, are you going to fry the burgers if we have it after 5?
I have it at my house?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, we can't do that, can we?
No, can't do that.
I can stay 6 foot apart for a good hamburger.
Good point.
Yeah. Would 4
amount of time that we'll need to be together.
I have something else too when everybody gets done.
I just had one question about if we go ahead and make a decision on getting some of these projects done, are we going to be held up by the governor as far as letting the contractors in do work, or can we still do